We're very welcome back to the show. What's Got Ireland Talking? Here to tell us all, we have Jonathan Healy and Mary Mack is back with us again. Jonathan, what happened last night? 6 hours, no Facebook, no Instagram and no WhatsApp.
It was brilliant, wasn't it?
No.
The world became a very peaceful place. Of course, everybody thought it was their phone. That was the first thing. So we all rebooted our phones, thinking it was something else. Then it was something weird was happening because there was so much pressure on internet providers. Some internet providers went down. So it was the closest we've had to having no internet in a while. I was trying to come up with a very simple analogy to describe it. So if you're ever in a hotel, right, and you know the way the hotel has all the key cards now. So what happened was you were there in the towel, you think somebody knocked on the door, you open the hotel door, you go out, the door catches the towel and you're left out in the hall in the nip with nothing, right? That's effectively what happened to Facebook last night. Because what happened was they changed a couple of lines of code that ultimately meant that nobody could find Facebook. Code.
C-O-D-E.
C-O-D-E. And that meant that nobody could find Facebook anymore. And as a result...
Hence they couldn't get back into the room.
They couldn't get back into the room. And they were standing there in the nip and they had to go down to reception in the nip and find a way of getting back into the room. It was chaotic.
Whole other level.
I think there was a lot more than lines of code. That probably somebody, did a few lines of something else. But anyway, I didn't even know till the next morning.
Yeah, that's the way to be.
I do Instagram. That's all I do. Mary _ official. If anybody wants to follow me, get me some money.
Plenty of funny things up by you, Mary, all the time.
Yeah, no, but that's all I do, and I don't do Facebook and I don't do Twitter. And you know something? I'm so much happier. I'm so much happier than the people who do, because I'll probably go home now today, blissfully unaware that somebody has said, "Did you see that gobaloon Mary McAvoy on today's show? Isn't she the worst that ever?"
They'd never say that about you.
But if they do, I don't know, so I don't care.
We'd see him typing if he was right.
It's you?
No, certainly not, Mary. Certainly not.
I knew so. Oh, it's you. My stalker, it's you.
Mary, do you think we're too reliant?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we are handing our humanity in at the desk. I really do. I really do. I find we were talking outside earlier, and I was talking to a couple of young people the other day, and what I found was the kind of almost lamb to rabbit thing. There's this kind of there's no reaction, and it's not. And I don't get me wrong. I think young people are great. They're going to be the hope of the planet and everything. But I do feel, and I do think that we are not engaging with the world. We're supposed to be trying to save the planet. We don't know what's going on here, never mind in wherever else there is. So I actually do think we've got to start to learn to communicate with each other again, and not just through social media.
Well, we do have information security expert Paul Delahunty live from Kildare. Paul, can you tell us what exactly happened?
So, I'll try and explain this as basically as possible. So, what essentially happened is Facebook engineers did an upgrade or an update to this thing called a BGP. And all you need to know is that this BGP is one of the things in the internet that helps route traffic to a destination. That's all you need to understand. So it's the same as if I gave you an address and I said, go to this address, but you've never been there before. It's a part of Ireland maybe you've never been to. You don't just hop in the car and you drive. What you do is you take out a map, or you take out your Google Maps or your sat-nav, you type in the address and it tells you step by step how to get there. It's exactly the same on the internet. So what this upgrade or update seems to have done is it seems to have removed Facebook from the map. So when you go to type it into your Garmin or whatever, the Garmin goes, whoa, I don't recognize that address. I don't know how to get you to your destination. And in simple terms,
so Facebook didn't exist for a while last night?
Yeah, actually, there are places where you can go to buy domain names, and domain names like facebook.com or hotmail.com or rte.ie. They are domain names. And actually, on some of those providers, facebook.com actually ended up for sale. Now, I don't think it would have come through, but it was essentially because their automated systems recognized that, well, there's nothing there. This must be for sale.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. It would have went for a nice few bob, I think.
No.
There was a very brief period where there's 24 hours where we legalised drugs in this country. It's very similar to that by the sound.
I don't remember it.
We accidentally, there was a good 24 hours.
Do you know, the thing that got me with the Facebook and the Instagram going down, the first thing I thought is, if they're gone forever, all of my photographs of my kids and everything are gone.
Do you not have them backed up?
I don't have it backed up, and we don't print photographs anymore, you know? So Oh my gosh, imagine.
Gosh, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
I never thought of that. And all the sort of records of civilization are gone as well, you know. I think sometimes just hard copy is a really good way to...
Very, very important. Paul, we're going to hold on to you there for our next story as well. Mary, you might explain this one for us. There's a lot of scams happening at the moment.
Oh, I think everybody has had, like, multiple scam phone calls, texts, emails. There's parcels all over the country waiting for me to collect them. There's the worst one, which is the one that feeds into your fears, was the one that my bank account has been closed. And that really scared me because I knew it was a scam, but it kind of gets you, you know. So, I mean, I didn't, the providers really have to do something about this because I'm fairly okay with technology, but I'm not, but if somebody who isn't okay with technology, the living daylights is scared out of them. And people are being shaken down for money. They really are. So I want Paul to tell us how we can protect ourselves and who's doing it anyway. I want to know, where's all this coming from?
Okay, Paul, who's doing it first of all?
Well, I have a list of names here. No, I'm joking. Well, look, first of all, the thing to remember is that it's a global problem. So it's not just Ireland. And the pandemic, I suppose, hasn't really helped because you're out of your bubble. You're a bit more accepting about answering these strange calls. But the other thing that we have to realise is that this is probably not going away anytime soon because the technology that's there for doing this type of thing is getting much more sophisticated. But the entry into it is becoming much easier. You don't have to have, a PhD in information technology to be able to use it. It's packaged up for you, and it's getting cheaper. So these robocalls that are going around, you can buy 2 to 3 million of these for 5, 6, 7, 800 euro. So you could actually send one of these robocalls to every person in the island of Ireland for like 2,000 euro.
Wow.
My God.
So then what kind of a hit rate do you have to make money?
Well,
very, very low.
Yeah.
So it's and the people who are doing they're organised gangs sometimes in Eastern Europe, but because it's so accessible now, it could really be anyone doing it. It's accessible for everyone.
Mary's asking to hear, how did they get your number?
Well, your number, most people's numbers have been out there for many, many years. Sometimes what they're taken from breaches that have occurred. That your email address is the same. There are breaches that are occurring the whole time. And if you're like me and you've had your same email address for the last 20 years, 25 years, it's going to be out there. If essentially people don't change their phone numbers that often either. How many times do we fill in forms online? Put in your mobile number.
Yeah.
I have to say that last week I got a call from an 088 number.
088?
Yes, so in other words, the scammers had gone back to the 1990s. There hasn't been a call made on an 088 number since then. Needless to say, I didn't answer, but I did answer an 051 number the other day saying, that's nice, somebody from Walk.
A landline.
A landline. And a voice in the far end said, this is the Irish Revenue. And I went, well, at that point, they never say we're the Irish Revenue because here they're just the revenue. He got short shrift, let's put it that way.
I'm wondering, though, what
can we protect ourselves?
But what is it that they can gain from this? Like, how are they making their money off these calls that you answer and then they just hang up on you?
For every 500 calls they make, all they need is to find one person who believes them and who give over their bank details or their PPS number or something. But the real damage that's being done here, right, and as somebody who's running a business, nobody answers call numbers they don't recognise anymore. Correct. So what's happening is that people are just leaving everything go to voicemail. And that's damaging to businesses because those, if I ring someone who doesn't have my number stored, they're not going to answer my call anymore. And that becomes a problem.
Okay. Paul Delahunty, thank you very much for being with us today.